Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kevin Barganis, and I'm with the communications team at the Department of Planning and Development. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on DPD's YouTube page. With that, I will kick it over to Ernest Bellamy to get us started. Ernest.
Thank you, Kevin. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Humboldt Park, Chicago Avenue, and West Southwest RFP community presentation. This evening, well, first off, I'm a West Region planner for DPD and the project manager for the Invest Southwest corridor along Chicago Avenue here in Humboldt Park. This evening, our agenda is as follows. We'll have welcome and introductions, followed by a quick recap of the RFP process up to this point and tonight's format, as well as 2 presentations by our development teams who responded to the RFP. And lastly, the next steps in the process. So without further ado, I will give the welcome, or at least transition to the welcome to Alderman Burnett, who's been so gracious to join us here this evening.
Thank you very much, Ernest. Good evening, everyone. First of all, we want to give honor to God. Thank him for allowing us to have the opportunity for folks to be interested in our community with some proposals. We're also blessed to have 2 young African Americans competing for projects in our area. So it's a blessing. I'd like to thank the Department of Planning, the Mayor's Office, and also all of the folks from the West Humboldt Park Development Council and everyone who has been involved with the Invest Southwest. I pray that we get something good going here, and this would just be the beginning of greater things to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Additionally, we have Deputy Commissioner Jim Harbin on the line. Jim? Oh, Jim, you're muted, by the way.
Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. I know many of you on the call, but for those of you who I have not met, I am Jim Harbin, a Deputy Commissioner here with the Department of Planning and Development. I am just as excited to hear and see the details of the proposals for this great corridor. And with that, I'm not going to take up more of your time so we can get to the heart of why we're here this evening. But welcome, thank you for joining, and I look forward to this great occasion.
Thank you, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're in store for a great evening here tonight. I wanted to say welcome again to everyone. Thank you for joining us for this evening. As a little bit of a recap for those who were not part of the earlier visioning sessions or the normal cadence of community roundtables held virtually, the Humboldt Park Chicago Avenue RFP is a RFP that reimagines a block of Chicago Avenue at 3601 through 25 West Chicago Avenue as a key element of the Invest Southwest initiative. Groundbreaking effort to coordinate investment on the city's south and west sides. Tonight and in the subsequent weeks to follow, the city needs your feedback on the proposals that you'll see tonight to help us advance to selecting and winning entry. What we hope to accomplish tonight is to meet the respondent teams, learn more about their proposals, and ask questions and provide feedback to what we see from the proposals. Tonight's process includes a quick recap of the RFP visioning process and process overall. Then 30-minute segments by each of the presentation teams We'll kick it off with an 8-minute video presentation that they have prepared, followed by 22 minutes of questions and answers by all those in attendance, followed up by next steps in continued engagement. With regards to questions and answers for this evening, if you're joining by Zoom, which is practically everyone, please use the Q&A box or chat box if you're a panelist. At the bottom of the window, you'll find that Q&A button. It should look like the graphic you see on the screen. And to help point it out from the other graphics, it's that little bit that kind of glue there. When you click on the chat, a window will appear where you can type comments and questions and see others' comments and questions. A project team member will be reviewing your comments and questions in the Q&A and the chat. Answers will be posted. We'll send out a summary of the questions and answers following the meeting in the subsequent week to all those who have pre-registered. Equally, questions can also be emailed to us at dpd@cityofchicago.org. Going into the RFP recap, our development site that we looked at is unique from other Invest Southwest RFPs, as it was two privately owned parcels, or it is two privately owned parcels, and a public alley to be vacated, roughly around 30,000 square feet. That division between the two private parcels is, as you see on the screen, the NHS Westside Hub and a privately owned property that is currently vacant at 3601 West Chicago Avenue. The process regarding the community visioning involved a process over roughly 3 months, where the RFP vision and development principles were informed by previous planning studies through the 2005 and 2008 quality of life plans, Invest Southwest kickoff back in January 2020, when we could all meet together in person, monthly Invest Southwest roundtables, stakeholder interviews, alderman feedback, and the visioning workshops I mentioned a little bit earlier that happened in February and April in 2021. The RFP vision for 3601 through 25 West Chicago Avenue really focused on pedestrian-oriented mixed-use development. The development priorities, which were outlined in the RFP that came out of that visioning process and continued engagement with the community through the roundtables, really honed in on these key bullets you see here on the screen of walkability, community safety, diversity of retail goods and services, and a celebration of the community. The RFP timeline, where we are right now, we've kind of gone through steps 1 and 2, and we're currently now at step 3, where we are conducting an evaluation of the RFPs, the respondents, the RFP respondents that came in. Subsequently, we've previewed a little bit of this at yesterday's September roundtable, but we're diving a bit further for the broader community here this evening with the September developer presentations. So this evening, the respondent teams that you'll see tonight are, as you see on the screen. First up will be Ascent West Humboldt by the Art and Soul Collective, and secondarily, the Ave or The Avenue by KMW Communities. Things to keep in mind tonight are as follows. The overall impression of each proposal that you see. What excites you about what you're seeing and what concerns you? Furthermore, community wealth building. Involvement of minority-owned team members, promotion of local business development, local hiring for quality jobs, and prior West Side experience. Furthermore, competence and appropriateness of the project, their uses and spaces. Are they reflective of community priorities, a high quality of design, as well as development and design team experience and abilities? So how today's feedback will be incorporated is as follows on the screen. We will provide a synthesis of today's comments and questions and issue developer Q&A to the public. And apologies on the typo on the screen. That should not say May 28th. But we will be providing feedback next week via all those who have registered. Secondarily, an online scorecard soliciting more detailed opinions on the presentations will be made available. And apologies again about the typo of May 28th. So that'll come out next week. Thirdly, reviewing other input options based on the community feedback. DPD will be reevaluating the community process from round 3 and looking to make community input more impactful, and as well as the selection and negotiation. As once a team is selected, DPD will refer to feedback from these sessions and future engagement opportunities to advance the negotiations and amend the winning proposal. So getting into our next segment, the developer team presentations, I will provide the floor over to our facilitator for this evening, Ms. Claudette Baker.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining tonight's roundtable to hear the developer presentations. As stated, I'm Claudette Baker. My bio is on screen. You can read it for yourselves. What I'd like to add that's not on here is that I have facilitated some of the Invest Southwest sessions in the other communities. So this process flows pretty quickly, and everybody is pretty cooperative and have a little fun and ask your questions. It is important to try to get to as many questions as we can from the community. So with that, we have a few group agreements that we'd like for you to take ownership of. And that is, as you're all muted now, everybody's been on Zoom for over a year, just about. So please remain muted. Do state your name so that we can locate you on screen. That's if you are speaking, if you raise your hand to ask your question rather than chat it or post it in the Q&A feature. When raising your hand, we just ask that you respect the stack. I will be monitoring like where you are in the stack so that we go in order. All questions and ideas are valid, and please respond with respect. Sometimes the conversation may have to be cut short because of our time constraints. And so we ask for your patience and your indulgence in that. So with that, no longer delay, let us go to our first developer group, which is Ascent West Humboldt with the Art and Soul Collective. And we'll start with the video.
Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa Stokes and I'm the owner of ESP Consulting and a resident of the West Side. Over the last 8 years, I have been doing community organizing around art and culture. And I really think the physical environment change can make a really big difference. We don't really have a whole lot of development in our major corridors, and I think that it impacts the community. What people can see and put their hand on, something that's viable and something that's constructive, I think those things are missing within our community.
We've seen great strides over the years as it pertains to development. But what's especially important as we move forward is that we have community development move forward by people from the community. We can't be it until we see it. And so when you have people that are from the community that are making strides like development and construction in their own communities, it gives hope for the people who are from here that they can do it as well.
As a community liaison, I volunteer at the schools to make sure that the young people know who I am, they know what I do, and that they know that there is someone in their community who looks like them, who lives like them, who wants the best for their community and wants the best for them, is right within their reach.
We are proud to be a part of the Art and Soul Collective. Our roster includes the largest African-American owned engineering firm in the U.S., Millhouse Construction and Engineering, leading sustainable design firm, FAR Associates, women-led programming partner, Synergy Cities, and a host of Black-owned companies like 548 Development, Engage Civil, Gregory Ramon Design Studio, Nation Builders Construction Group, Gold Leaf Capital Partners, and Planning Resources Inc.
So this project really benefited from having a collaborative team work together and having that insight on the project that will allow us to create something not only that's visually and aesthetically pleasing, but also that reduces our impact on the environment. Ascent West Humboldt will have 20,000 square feet of commercial retail space and 37 units of housing, totaling over 43,800 square feet. It was important that we create massing that would have the potential to be iconic, but also start to think about how people will experience on a regular basis. We actually looked at taking the individual units and rotating those differently so that each resident would have a different vantage point of being able to see outside and also provide a sense of individuality, taking our cues from the community. We chose a series of colors that represent the tonality of the community. And we created a gradient effect starting with a darker, richer, textured copper panel and moving up the facade using a textured fiber cement panel. It represents the people where this building will be located and the people that the building is going to serve. Overall, the project will provide numerous spaces for gatherings, for opportunities to connect with one another, including the residents as well as those in the community, and provide a future-proof development and design that will allow people to gather here for years to come.
Our tenants go beyond just having a commercial presence. They also have community programs to help train and develop community members to not just be employees, but to build their own businesses. We have restaurants, a coffee shop, a grocery store, a year-round marketplace, a business center that has an incubator and a maker studio. We also have a wellness center and an arts program. Among our tenants are Bemenda Coffee, founded and spearheaded by Felix Lachey, brewing African coffee beans alongside authentically sourced Afro-Caribbean groceries. Through his foundation, he will promote entrepreneurship, education, and community programs that will develop franchise owners of their own marketplaces. Additionally, Felix plans to launch an Afrobeats restaurant concept serving imported African beers and featuring live music. We have Chef Estrella Colon, who will finally fulfill her dream of having a physical location for her catering business, Eatin' Puerto Rican. With the support of her partner, Chris Hervey of Build Chicago, they will also dedicate their space to being a sanctuary for youth development and gang intervention. Charles Smith is a West Side native who is excited to bring his corporate office and co-working space, the Chi Tower West, in partnership with M-Hub to feature a maker studio with access to equipment and workshops. His corporate wellness company, Method Health, will also have a presence including training facilities for building residents, multi-purpose health screening rooms, and physical and mental therapy. Visual arts nonprofit Sky Art will expand their free youth education programs from the south to the west side, as well as help provide artwork for display throughout the development. Through a partnership with NHS, we will target local first-time home buyers who can have the chance to catalyze generational wealth with their purchase of property offered at both affordable and market rates. We are committed to hiring emerging local minority real estate brokers, creating community wealth on both sides of the transaction. Sustainable building technology, including an energy-efficient build-out strategy and a rooftops with solar panels, will help lower utility costs for local tenants. Millennium Solar, the largest minority-run solar training program in Illinois, will skill a cohort of local residents through work on this development and eventually be placed in full-time construction careers.
When you can teach someone a hard skill, they can turn around, they can take side jobs, they can actually start their own companies. And that sense of the pride of ownership and saying, you know, I helped build that, it permeates throughout the community.
For some young people, this will be what sparks their future. We've been living in a pandemic since before the pandemic, and that has such a huge effect on our young people as well as their families. So what we want to do is start to bring hope back to this community through the people who are already here. What we're going to do is a community engagement strategy, and we want to make sure that the young people know that they are covered, that there is a path being laid for them, and they have all the opportunity in the world to walk that path alongside us, and we will give them the tools that they need so that they can take the next steps in their future.
I partnered to create Pop Courts, which is on the corner of Chicago and Lockwood. And it's an outdoor event space really created by the community, for the community. It's so beautiful to watch people take ownership in their own community. So if this is possible, just in this little corner, just imagine what we could create with larger developments where the community actually has a part in creating that space.
What's most important in this coalition is truly the definition of equity. We have empowered local community leaders with actual ownership in this development, along with the workforce training partner being a true partner in the sense of how this project will grow and evolve and engage the community. We estimate that this project will create over 170 construction jobs and over 90 permanent jobs, with an emphasis on finding that labor local to the neighborhood.
Our total project cost is $31 million, which will be funded with $4 million in equity, $11 million in market debt, $400,000 in grants, and a non-serviceable gap of $15.7 million.
We believe in the shared value of engaged community.
We are so excited to be creating this amazing development that will have a huge impact in the West Humboldt Park community and Chicago's West Side.
On behalf of the Art and Soul Collective, we want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ascent West Humboldt. There are a couple of questions that have come in through the Q&A. One is just a comment of liking the name of the group and that it's local and from the West Side. There is a question of what is the market rate for these apartments? So Ascent, if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. This is AJ Patton. Market rate, we are this one to Miss Loretta. These are not apartments, these are condos. This will be for sale. So that's one important piece. And then I think the other thing that's important from an affordability perspective is that we're going to target over a third of this project. We're deeming it affordable at 50% area median income. Some of those final numbers we still need to work through as we finalize a TIF request and do some more site analysis, but we are committed to over a third of this project being affordable at 50% area median income. And these will be for sale. So this will be a wealth generating opportunity. So thank you for the question.
Okay. Will there be a parking lot? That's from Chantel Johnson.
Greg.
Hi, this is Greg, and I can take that question. Yes, we absolutely are going to have parking included in the design, and I believe Ernest has up on the site the site plan. But if we look at the image in the top left corner, in the back here, we've carved out space for a total of 21 parking spaces, and you can also see that in the site plan in the bottom left corner as well. But we will have parking, and for this, so we don't have a 1-to-1 ratio for the units to parking, but we will have flexibility. We will have flexibility to look at additional parking in the program as we look at the overall site. And once we move forward with in future community meetings to look at this further.
From James Nelson, why did you choose condominiums instead of apartments like the other proposals? And let's take with that the question from Joan Clayton that's related to the condos is how many bed count and what's the maximum bedroom count?
Greg, do you want to start with the bedroom count and then we can talk about why we went for sale versus rental?
Absolutely. So we have a total of 37 units, and those are a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. And with the majority of those being 2 and 3, the 2 bedrooms are the range in size from a little over 1,000 square feet to 1,200 square feet. The 3 bedroom units range from close to 1,500 square feet to 1,700 square feet. And then the 1 bedrooms range in square footage from 520 to 765. And in terms of the breakdown, like I said, the majority of those are 2 bedroom. We have 21 2 bedroom, 10 3 bedroom, and 5 1 bedroom included here.
And then Ms. Claudette, to the question about why we chose to do something that was for sale versus rental, we have another project that's coming down the street that will be rental. And we think that, as this community continues to evolve, we wanted to make sure that folks that are in the community had access to something that they can own and call their own for generations. We see these developments as wealth generating opportunities. We think there's plenty of rental. We're going to add more to the rental. Let me not say there's plenty. There are rental opportunities, but we've got others coming down the street. We've got another project three blocks down that we'll be announcing soon that will be 50 units of rental. But we wanted to use this opportunity in this particular site, which is a little bit smaller and unique, to do something for sale as a wealth generating opportunity for the community. And we wanted to do it intentionally mixed income, create a real space for affordable for sale, use a partnership with neighborhood housing services, who we obviously have a great relationship with, and say, hey, why don't we prepare some first-time home buyers for these units? That way they can anchor this development and stay right here in the community where we'd like to keep them.
Okay, thanks. My apologies to Joan Clayton. I missed your question here about what will happen to the NHS office.
Yeah, I'll take that one too, Rachel. I don't want to keep going over the top, but our projection, what we've proposed to them is we have another site down the street that we'd like for them to have a larger, more robust exposure to the West Side community. And we are still in those conversations about what that looks like. Obviously, they'll have, if we go a different route, they'll have first dibs on a presence in that same location on Central Park. But we'd like to, we're exploring a much larger presence for NHS and a bigger vision for NHS a couple of blocks down the street. But their influence on this site, one, will be a partner to provide those first-time home buyers. That's their expertise. They've got great leadership in Mr. Simpkins, who we believe is a great leader for all of our communities. And we're excited to work with them both there and down the street.
Okay. From Lamont Williams, what street will this be located?
So this is
Craig,
right
you wanna take-
on, yeah, this is right on West Chicago Avenue in between North Central Park and North Monticello Ave.
Okay. The questions are continuing here in the Q&A. So just a comment from Ronald Burdell that this is awesome, and would you be willing to make this model a model for development on the 3500 block of West Madison? So that's a comment. From Loretta Road, what's the square footage of the 1 or 2 bedrooms? I'm sorry, I see hand raised. Hang on. So what's the square footage?
Yeah, I can answer that one again. So with the 1 bedroom units, we're looking at 520 to 765 square feet. The 2 bedroom units are range from a little over 1,000 square feet to 1,200 square feet. And the 3 bedroom units are close to 1,500 square feet to 1,720.
Okay. I thought I saw a raised hand in the stack, but perhaps not. How many living wage careers are you expecting to generate by the project?
Rachel, do you want to speak to that one?
Yeah, so we're looking at about 100 jobs being created, a little, more or less between 90 and 110. And that'll be dependent. There's still some ability for some square footage to be used between the 2 developments we're planning on doing. So depending on what businesses take some over some of the square footage, we could be at about 120. And the non-permanent jobs and sort of the extended jobs, I think we're looking at in the construction realm. I think, Melanie, you're probably best served to answer that question.
Sure. On the construction side, it would be about 178 construction jobs that we're looking at projecting.
Okay. From Igor Student Co-op, AMI as defined by HUD, or what's the average medium income for the community?
That's a great question. I'm going to assume HUD. That's how we've done our pro formas in the past, but that's a nuanced question, Igor. We could probably circle back via email on that one, but historically we've done those pro formas based on HUD for the city.
Okay. From Lamont Williams, what does this mean for the people in the community? Will this raise property taxes, rent, etc.?
Vanessa, you want to take that one?
Sure. So, hi everybody. My name is Vanessa Stokes, and well, it's with development comes changes in the community and how the community is, how it's looked at. The whole purpose of our development, we wanted to create a stake in the community so people could have ownership. So, so it's possible that, with development comes the property taxes being raised. But what we're seeing as an opportunity is for us to use this space as a way to inform the community of different opportunities for them to prepare for the possibility of property taxes and rent and so forth being raised. We saw the importance of us, creating ownership. This is a way that we can, create folks that actually stay inside the community. So, yeah, so that if anyone else on the team wants to expand on it, but yeah, that's my answer.
Okay. I don't want to butcher this person's name. Sheldry Muzaffar is asking, what sources will you use for filling the $15 million gap?
Yeah, great question. So the way Invest Southwest is set up, what they've done is even in the RFPs, they recognize that these projects, because of how undervalued our neighborhoods are from the banks, they recognize that there's going to be a funding gap. And so the entire premise of Invest Southwest is that they're going to fill in those funding gaps, and they've already prepared the budget to fill those in. And so they've already had money set aside at the city level, whether it be TIF, neighborhood opportunity fund money, infrastructure money. There's a host of a bevy of resources that they have at the city level, and they're prepared. That's why they picked this particular location, because they think this community is worthy of investment. And so that's what that funding gap will be serviced with.
From James Nelson, how will the project involve community instead of just putting money into the developer's pocket?
Hi, this is Aisha Oliver. I'll take that. So on this particular project, as a community member, myself and many others on the team, community engagement is what I do best. So it was my intention from the beginning of this process to the very end that we included the community in the process. And that meant making sure that we understood, first of all, the lay of the land. Being from the community and growing up around the corner on Huron and Sawyer, you know best what fits a community like this. So it was very important to me to make sure that we made connections, one, with the schools in the area around us, because what happens too often is we build these things and people pitch new ideas to the community, and they often leave the kids out of the process. So you are expecting them to take ownership in something that they feel like they are not even connected to. So it was a big deal for me to, one, use the connections that I already had with schools. As a former programmer at OR, I've reached out to Roe Clark. I have many students who graduated from there. I reached out to Polaris. So just slowly but surely making those connections prior to us even wanting to push this and get an okay on things, what people need to know and what we want to make sure that people understand about this particular project is this was built on the ideas of the people who live in the community. This was not a random pitch by just developers. This was us taking ownership and taking stake in where we live and how things are designed and how they benefit our communities. So, and not only doing that, but also making sure that we include the voices of our young people and our children so we leave a legacy for them. So this is not just about the developers taking stake in it, but the actual residents have a stake in this project as well.
Okay. Let me acknowledge just that we have a raised hand from Cheryl Conaway, and you are in the stack. Ms. Conaway, at about 6:38 is when I saw your hand raised, so we've got a few questions. But I am coming to you. I just want to acknowledge that I see your hand. What is the range of the homeowners assessments? From Tangi Williams.
Yep, great question. So we have not locked down what the assessments will be yet, but how we've programmed the building is to not put too much programmatic impact just on the homeowners, and that everything's geared towards the community where the homeowners have access to it, but it's not entirely focused just on the people that live in the building. So this is a community building where this is a combination of both the communities getting access to these amenities, but obviously the homeowners will have premier access. And so that was our strategy to keep the HOAs down, since we will have affordable, some affordable units and market rate units in the building. We have not locked in an HOA number. We've had some preliminary conversations, but strategically, we're not looking to have a 24-hour door, things that run a HOA up, liability of gyms that are entirely private or entirely private doorman for 24-hour services, et cetera, et cetera. So we've thought through that strategically. Now, to say a number publicly would be disingenuous because we got some work to do left to get that tied down. But that's a great question. But we've thought through programmatically what the influencers are there.
Okay. And from Sonny Oliver, we're going to call on Ms. Voss to answer this question. What type of support will be offered to business owners to ensure the success and sustainability?
Yeah, so great question. We actually really intentionally designed what tenants would be involved in this project based on their track record of helping to accelerate and incubate other businesses in the area and create economic growth. So for example, Felix Lachey, who will be spearheading the Menda Coffee and the West African Food Market, as well as the Afrobeats restaurant. He has already got an accelerator incubator in West Africa, helping local community members supply coffee to the US, and he will bring some similar curriculum over to the community on helping community members build, own, and operate their own sort of small format marketplaces as sort of a way to spread and expand and possibly franchise the sort of bodega or small format marketplace for the community for convenience. In addition, we have Estrella Colon, who has the Eaton Puerto Rican restaurant that actually doubles as a community sanctuary. And that's giving a safe space to some of the students and young adults to go to sort of get mentorship through Build Chicago with her partner. And in addition to this, we are going to be supporting the for sale condo sort of community ownership with partnership with NHS. And our other tenants included, and this is Charles Smith, who is sort of notorious for his amazing work in the West Side and also in the South Side of Chicago. He will be taking a lot of his expertise to build a business center to create sort of a print shop and workspace and office space for local community entrepreneurs and business members to sit and meet and gather and create new businesses and ventures together, as well as help create wellness and sort of holistic support for them as not just business owners or business people, but as humans and families and beyond. So there will be a really, really robust ecosystem of support here. And on top of that, we're also creating a marketplace that's going to be open year round within the indoor and outdoor space to give first-time sort of product creators or restaurant owners an opportunity to test their product on the market by having sort of a booth or a stand to get their name out there with the community, test the product, see how people are responding, and get that sort of low barrier to entry opportunity to see their businesses interaction with the community. So there's a lot of different opportunities to create support for the success and sustainability of the businesses in the area. In fact, one of our main goals is to have every single tenant partner have an element of education and incubation within their program beyond just being a commercial tenant. It's a crucial part of our plan.
So Rachel, while you're talking, please respond to the next question from John Clayton regarding crime in the area, and will there be partnership and opportunities to address the crime issue as it may deter buyers?
I'd love to partner with Aisha on this answer, but I'll just start by saying I think that the main sort of goal with the sort of arts, we're planning on having sort of a co-op of different art programs and mentorship programs to give kids a place to go after school, and just generally to give young adults and people a place to go that isn't on the street. It can be somewhere sort of indoor with education and program and mentorship and a support system, sort of a safe haven and a sanctuary to go. But also just by virtue of there being so many businesses here and having so many active businesses that are open and operating at different hours, there's an organic and natural neighborhood watch that sort of goes on, a community center that's sort of built organically from the activity and the foot traffic and sort of the growth. But I think, Aisha, it would be great for you to sort of tag team on this answer, because I know you've put a lot of thought into this as well.
Hi, you guys. So first and foremost, again, this goes back to knowing the lay of the land. So when we initially started to discuss this project, that was one of the first things that I brought to the table, is understanding that we would be right in the center of a very heavy drug area. So you have to know about these things, and you have to have some sort of connection to the people in the community. So one of the first things I did was reach out to Tony Rags, and also to have a meeting with him. We worked together on the West Side Regional Committee with the mayor's office, discussing, since he is already doing work, so is Bill in Humboldt Park, which I've worked with before within OR on our intervention and prevention programs, which is us basically making sure that we have connections with the kids in the community their families, giving them alternatives to things that they can do. And that is meeting them where they are. So that's why I make it my business to be a community liaison and partner and volunteer in these schools, because that's the one place that you can get connected to our young people. So we are already in the process of meeting with people who are already on the ground and doing the work. So we want to make sure we connect with those who already have a leg up in knowing the community and at least being a hand in helping deter some of the violence and things that we see in the West Humboldt Park area. So making those connections early on and making sure that we grow on those over time will help with our plan of engagement and prevention.
Okay. So this next question is from Whitney Ellis, but I want to give a heads up to Cheryl Conaway. You are after this question, and to everyone who's attending, Cheryl Conaway has the last question before we close out this segment from Ascent. So the question from Whitney Ellis is, what are the sale prices of these homes?
Yeah, we spoke to this. We're doing a third at 50% AMI, and the rest will be market rate. We haven't finalized a full number, but we're committed to the 50% area median income for a third of the project. And so what we're really working on is we have not negotiated a sale price with NHS and a final TIF request from the city. But what we did in our pro forma that we sent to the city is commit a third of these to 50% area median income, and then we'll kind of work our way backwards from there.
Okay. And Cheryl Conaway, if you'll unmute yourself and ask your question.
Claudette, I believe Cheryl has left.
Oh, okay. So one last question here is we want to take some of these questions from folks that we have not heard from. And that the question from James Nelson is, what experience do you actually have in workforce development? And I believe James Webb would like to answer the question.
Yep, I'll take that question. So James Webb, Nation Builders Construction Group. We are an accredited sponsor of a national construction trade and management curriculum, which we deploy by working in tandem with our local nonprofit partners that do intake and assessment and usually some type of wraparound services. Our trainees are then fed into our pre-apprenticeship programs, which are usually about 12 weeks long, but can be modified based on that particular cohort's needs. In our typical program, trainees learn construction basics as well as receive safety certificates. In the case of Ascent, we'll have solar training available through our team partner, Millennium Solar. In addition to this particular pre-apprenticeship training, and the goal of the training is to have residents be able to work on this particular development, but also like once this one wraps, to be able to work with members of our team on other developments that we're doing throughout the city.
Okay, thank you. So that ends the time for this segment for Ascent. I want to say thank you to Ascent West Humboldt Developer Group and to the roundtable participants in the community. And so we will move on to our next group. There are a lot of questions that are in the Q&A that Department of Planning and Development.
I'd like to ask the team at the development team to go through and take a last look at these questions and answer them in writing. Press the type answer button and type them into the box. If you can do that right now while the next video is playing. I will just note for Claudette that the last question that came in here is at 6:48. Okay. And then we can move to the next set of questions after that for the next group. So thank you.
Okay, thanks. So with that, the Avenue, we will see your presentation now.
This project is once in a generational opportunity for enduring change. With thoughtful investment, we could begin correcting decades of neglect and create a more equitable, inclusive city for all residents. The Avenue project is more than just a building. It's a programmatic response to transforming a community. The intensification and extensification of the development would create opportunities, generational wealth, and drive population for decades. Our plan focuses on increasing density to sustain and grow the community.
POA stands for Preservation of Affordable Housing Incorporated. We are a not-for-profit affordable housing developer. We buy and build affordable housing to serve a range of household incomes, from very, very low-income people to more working-class households.
Our ability to come into a neighborhood, refinance, come in and then say we're going to be here for the next 15, 20, 30 years with you. That means that we're embedded in that neighborhood and we're not going anywhere. So the trials, the tribulations, the growth, the pains of growing, we're going to be right here with you and be a catalyst and leverage to bring in other resources to maybe grow in the way the community would like to have itself grow.
To date, we have done well over 100 tax credit deals. We also have a well-established and growing Chicago office. We've been busy in Chicago for about the last 12 years. We now own and operate properties in 12 Chicago neighborhoods, as well as the suburbs of Elgin and Harvey and Kankakee.
CEC, led by Rachel Ivey, understands that long-term employment is the key for upward mobility. CEC has facilitated hundreds of construction jobs with a retention rate of 75%.
We are born and raised, literally, in the communities that we serve. Our goal really is to be a resource for the community in a non-judgment space, giving them the tools that they need to stay and be successful in the industry.
Through the power of design and working with the city, working with public agencies, working with developers, and most importantly, working with the community, it's really about understanding what the challenges that they face and how we as a design firm and how I as a designer could actually work with them to actually bring about change, positive change in their neighborhoods.
NHS will be part of the ownership structure. The team will develop a new $2.9 billion state-of-the-art Westside Hub for homeownership and innovation, provide unrestricted grants to the West Humboldt Park Community Development Council, the Rose School, and Kelly YMCA.
When we think about the program itself, 40 plus units of mixed income housing, also trying to provide different elements from a programming standpoint that really speak to the needs of the neighborhood. It's always been more than just the building. It's how does that building actually meet the street? How does that actually interact with the community? And more importantly, how does this one building actually be the catalyst for other development that should be taking place in the neighborhood? If we think about what this means to the larger community and how this could be a catalyst for future development that goes along Chicago Avenue, that's the ultimate goal of what we're trying to accomplish here.
Phase 2 of the proposal includes the redevelopment of the vacant Dollar Tree store at 3401 West Chicago Avenue. This site will be improved with a 42-unit mixed-use building, which will create an eastern bookend of the corridor.
I think that what we've proposed here carries great potential for Chicago Avenue and Humboldt Park. It's important because we have two nodes along Chicago Avenue that we're proposing to redevelop, as well as, infill single-family housing at the surrounding community. I believe that if we can get those two anchors settled, that it will attract investment in between them and around them, but also in the blocks surrounding Chicago Avenue.
Our team's approach was really to take a corridor strategy and also look at this beyond just the building and the site, but think about how we can create a new infill development strategy that really brings about change. The key part of the building is actually linking these two parts together with kind of a central plaza that's at the ground level, but also having a very strong representative art piece that actually could be an expression of the community that really serves as the backdrop to that stage for that plaza.
The avenue brings some wonderful opportunities. The urban garden on top of the roof, I think, is going to be fantastic. The stoop idea is brings people outside. Not only has eyes on the street, but it also starts to get people more involved with each other as neighbors.
These type of projects are important, especially if it's a catalyst project that can come in, that can spur development, that can spur interest, and bring on other investors. It's also important for the community to be involved and be part of this process, for them to feel ownership of the project, for them to have a say, and for them to know that they are not going to be forced out or pushed out.
Historically, for a local community that has been disinvested for quite a while, a new development is a welcoming opportunity for the community to actually see new development come into their neighborhood, new housing, new retail stores. It improves the ability for the residents to not going to their cars to drive to a different neighborhood to shop, but to actually shop where they live and to live in the new development. It's much needed in West Humboldt Park.
We need consistent access to food, which is what you see behind me, the Fresh Moves Mobile Market. We love to see our nutritionally dense, beyond organic produce going into communities that need it the most.
It'd be a great entry point for me. My other alternative would have been to start a food truck, and with that, I'm taking my talents in different neighborhoods, and I'm not seeing what my labor and my efforts are able to build within a community.
One of the things that we wanted to bring to Chicago Avenue and to Chicago in general is hope.
I think this is going to be great. A new fresh wind for Chicago and the people who will be coming here. So if you give them something, people will come. So I think the community deserves a new opportunity and hope.
Phase 3 of the strategy is to ensure the long-term sustainability of the corridor. Our goal is to re-urbanize the area by increasing the population, creating pathways for generational wealth. Our plan is to build up to 260 homes, bringing a new wave of ownership to the area. To support this effort, KMW will provide a $5,000 grant for every home built on public-owned land.
Really excited about this opportunity. Excited for the new development, the concentrated development. This project in particular in West Humboldt Park. You look at Chicago Avenue and just the disinvestment over the decades, over the years. This is a part of the city that has long been ignored, and I think that this project can actually serve as a huge turning point for the community.
Having that diversity culturally, having that diversity as it relates to bringing in other people of color, black and brown, especially those who come from our neighborhoods, who live in our neighborhoods, who have family in our neighborhoods. We offer a different perspective. So I think it's very important when we're actually working on efforts like this, that empathy and that understanding is key, because our perspective not only gives deeper insight, it allows us to work better with the community because we are members of the community.
This team has unique level of empathy and understanding learned from living and working in the West Humboldt Park community. Our concentrated investment strategy is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to transform the community through the power of urban development. More inclusive growth will lead to new opportunities for economic development and long-term community wealth. The Avenue team has the knowledge and experience needed to make this project a long-term success.
Thank you. The Avenue. There is one question. Any general idea on the condo purchase price? Let's see. I'm sorry, that question is not for this group. Any questions for the Avenue? There's a comment from Ronald Burdell to Felicia that this is awesome. I saw a raised hand, but I don't see the name. So the person who has their raised hand, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
I think they lowered it, Claudette.
Okay. Question from James Nelson. Have any LOIs or tenants been secured yet?
I can answer that question. Yes, we're working with the Charming Child Care Center, who now has a facility in Humboldt Park. They want to expand. They're part of our tenant selection process. What we have an LOI for, and we have an LOI for Access Healthcare, who will be a huge contribution to the neighborhood, because through community engagement, we found that the health and wellness is a big component of what the Avenue needs.
Okay. Joan Clayton has posted a comment about POA being great and a good great community partner long term. From from Ronald Burdell, what is the timeline for completion?
Well, we have to finish the entitlement process and also working with the city on final budgets. So we hope to be delivering by 2024. The process would take 16 months from closing. And and I guess the entitlement process will be altogether it'd be like 2 years.
Okay. A comment from Alexandra Garcia, loving the design or loves the design. Joan Clayton's question is being answered. It's being typed. Shudri Muzaffar, what level of involvement will the Avenue team have in the broader community development strategy? Will these be joint, for example, will they be joint ventures?
Yeah, we have CEC, who is from West Humboldt Park. I'm also from Humboldt Park. I went to grade school in Humboldt Park, played baseball in Humboldt Park. So we are entrenched in the neighborhood. In fact, we've been investing in Humboldt Park for like the last 15 years. So our ground game in the community, it's been ongoing. It's been ongoing before the Invest Southwest process, and it will continue to be ongoing West Southwest process. We currently own and manage about 70 units in Humboldt Park. We created about 8 or 9 homeownership opportunities that NHS actually helped us with. And we also been working on efforts 2 years ago with NHS on homeownership opportunities. So we're all about community. We're entrenched. My office is 2 blocks away from this building. So our community efforts are ongoing, and we have employment specialists and employment specialists that understands the continuity of work and how that brings up mobility of families. So we develop a team with experts in all these areas.
From, excuse me, Loretta Road, are they condos or are you renting? What's the square footage, the size of the units? Are they 1, 2, 3 bedrooms? What's the parking ratio? How much green space? Any HOA fees and any TIF funds being used?
So I can answer part of that question. I would like to defer to the world-class urban planners and designers, Gensler, on the unit mix and unit count and the parking and the studies on that. So this will be rental, and it's rental because we feel that it's financeable. So we approach this process in a way where we know what we can close. We have the experience that we can close. Our teams close over 100 of these. So what we're doing here is realistic and it's executable. So there will be some TIF dollars. We don't know how much yet because we still have to go through that process. And TIF in this case will probably only be used for the acquisition and some of the remediation work. TIF is not able to be used with anything above ground. We will also plan on using some NOF funds to help with the tenant build out. And so I will defer the design questions to designers who are global designers who design cities and urban planning work exactly what we need in this neighborhood. So I think Andre or Jason or Scott can pick up at any time.
Yeah, I can jump in, Bill, on the numbers. Yes, overall, this proposed building calls for 40 units of mixed income housing. Of those 40 units, 14 units would be 1 bedrooms, and that would be ranging anywhere between 600 to 650 units, or I'm sorry, 600 to 650 square feet. Another 23 units set aside for 2 bedrooms, which will range anywhere between 875 to 900 square feet. And then three bedroom units, which would range anywhere between 1,100 to 1,200 square feet. I should also mention on the parking that we do have parking that's actually secured, that's accessed off of Central Park Avenue. We've introduced 32 parking spaces overall. Of those 32 parking spaces, 22 are set aside for the residents, and the remaining 10 is set aside for employees of NHS.
From Ed Coleman, besides construction, how many sustainable careers will the project generate?
So this phase project is 3 phases. The first phase will create 220 jobs, and the second phase is 214, and the home ownership is 456. And so with our what our program, of which is proven throughout the 27th ward with CEC, they have a retention rate of 75%. So it's a considerable amount of job creation here, and it's long term. And so studies shown that the continuity of work, it matters. It matters. So it's not a breakage in the work, because in some construction jobs, that the jobs, it's 6-month jobs or 7-month jobs, and then what does the person do after that? Though this phase strategy would allow workers to go from one job to one job to one job, gaining skills, gaining relationships, being able to start their own at some point if they choose to. So this is pretty much a 6-year job, continuation that's not broken. And these are some of the homeownership units you see here. We developed these years ago, and we're implementing these all over. And so we want to start with Humboldt Park and bring in high design, quality buildings, and quality homeownership to the neighborhood.
From Allison Porter Bell, what sources are you using? LIHTC?
Yes, we have Julie on the line. Julie, you can jump in at any time. We're using, we're using LIHTC. We have commitments, not commitments, I'm sorry. We have letters of interest from BMO, I think your bank. We have a commitment from BMO, PNC. We have commitments from, I think, 3 other banks that's willing to participate in this endeavor.
And I'll just add, I am Julie DeGraff from Preservation of Affordable Housing, or POA. As Bill mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of experience using the sources that we've assumed for this development. Low-income housing tax credits are part of it. That helps us really serve an income group that we think is representative of the community. We'll also have first mortgage debt that we'll leverage. And then we have what we believe to be a realistic source or combination of funds from the city. We have assumed 4% tax credits, which is the non-competitive version. And if it aligned to apply for the 9% credits, we'd certainly welcome that opportunity, but we don't necessarily need it with the right levels of support from other typical resources available to support developments like this.
And I'd like to add to that, what Julie said, we took a realistic approach, and this is executable, financeable. It's real. And, we've closed as a team over 100 tax credit deals. So this is very doable. It's within our striking distance in the strike zone.
From Michelle Gross, will housing in the community be in tandem with the avenue, or one after or before the other? And do you already have architectural renderings of the homes?
Yes, we have a few concepts. I think the administrator had a couple up a few minutes ago. If you don't mind putting those back up. We chose a high design, sustainable product, and we also have what they call 2+1s. So the image at the bottom, it's actually a rental at the bottom and a family size duplex above to help with the affordability component of it, because you can get rental income at the bottom, or there's multi-generational families in our community. So that way you don't have to be bothered with the in-laws or the grandma or whoever, or the kids. So does that answer the question?
Okay. I want to grab a comment from the chat that came in before the next question at the timing, and that's from Chantel Johnson, that states that she loves the fresh food aspect and the design makes more sense for the need on Chicago Avenue. So I want to call that to you all's attention.
Can I say something about the design?
Sure.
We start with design, and design really matters. It creates an emotional reaction. So, KMW, that's where we start with design. And just like a building that's not well designed, it gives you a reaction. Just like you see a piece of art, it gives you a reaction. So there's a theory called the broken window theory. If you leave one window broken, there's others that break soon after. But if you give someone something they can appreciate, something that they love, something they can express themselves, it's nothing like it. And then what that does is change the culture. So it's a culture of appreciation as opposed to a culture of disrespect. So then the culture polices the neighborhood, not the actual police.
Okay. From Sony Oliver, will the $5,000 grants for new home construction in the area be given to developers or buyers? And will there be any limits on buyer type? For example, mixed income, low income, first time homeowners.
The grants are actually coming from the development team. It's coming from us. That's our commitment to this process. So if we achieve our goal of building 260 homes, that's $1.3 million will be given back to the community. So it's not, the developers are not getting rich off of this. What we want to do is re-urbanize the area, populate it, pack the house pretty much, so that way that positive loitering can push out the negative loitering. I remember when Chicago Avenue was packed. It was lower income, but there were no vacant storefronts, packed. I remember when there was a roller rink down on Pulaski and Chicago Avenue, absolutely packed. Ferdine's restaurant, thriving, packed. But density matters. Sorry for raising my voice, but.
No problem. We hear your passion. From James Nelson is, what other Invest Southwest projects have you been a part of? It seems he's commenting that it seems like your groups have been involved in many projects. And you also mentioned a lot of other developments in the area.
No, our projects are really intentional and targeted for what we do best. We're a multifaceted development firm. We do market rate and affordable. We were a part of the NHS initiative where we saved collectively 1,500 houses around the city. So that's how we got our affordable routes. And we also started out in market rate. And so we've done some high design stuff, in Wicker Park, in Bronzeville, and Woodlawn, and Westtown. And so we only do what we think we can achieve. So we pursued one other Invest Southwest and no other. We didn't hop around, and we were successful at it, and that was the Bronzeville, and it was market rate.
Okay, thanks. From Loretta Road, what would be the rate for the units? I think you've responded to this.
Julie?
Yep, the rental apartments will have a range. We are targeting 5 of the apartments to be deeply targeted to residents earning 30% of area median income. So that actually is about $28,000 a year. So those rents, we would actually look to line up a subsidy to support those rents. So they'd be, again, very affordable. The other 35 apartments, would be between $875 and $1,000 on the 1 bedrooms, around $1,050 to $1,200 on the 2 bedrooms. And then our 3 bedroom units would be approximately $1,250 to $1,350.
Okay. From Joan Clayton, acknowledging that the area has a slight crime issue, what partnerships or opportunities will address this issue of the slight crimes as it may deter buyers to the area?
So what we want to do is change the narrative of this neighborhood. And that's why it takes more than one building. It's an entire urban planning plan to attract, positive loitering, to work with the city and work with the police department. I'm working with the police department now on a building that we own on Ohio and Humboldt. So we're familiar with what's going on with the neighborhood. We're familiar with the loitering of the homeless under the train tracks on Chicago Avenue near Albany. But, we have nothing against the homeless, but we are aware of the negative component, and we hope to bring in a positive culture. And that's why we have to do more than just the building.
So if I can add in real quick, I think that I know that what a lot of the members of the team here, we're humble spirits, and we believe it really does take a village. And outside of working with the police, working with Tony Rags, I've done a lot of work on the West Side half my life. So understanding that there are other partnerships that typically people don't normally make, that are the right partnerships to address some of the other challenges around safety, security, and just how people feel about their neighborhood, people that are becoming back to the neighborhood, people coming to the neighborhood new. There are all types of partnerships that we can create and connect to that we already have with people who've lived here for so long. So I think the building on that momentum to kind of connect to those folks. And I hate to say on the ground, but I'm gonna say on the ground because that's where the flavor flows. It's on the ground, working with the folks and connecting with us on the ground day to day. So I think our humbleness is this project allows us to think bigger than just the building, but think about the fabric of the neighborhood and the cultural history that we can help to amplify with our efforts in art and working with safety and bringing in people that I've seen people come in that have been family members of people who live there already, that we've done that in the past with some of our partners. So I think the other thing I'll say is because we've got partners that have had a lot of experience doing some of this work, sometimes it seems like it's a hodgepodge, but what we found and the skill is not only in building the building, but actually coordinating partners so it can work seamlessly. So the partners don't look like they're heavy-handed and coming in and doing on community, but I am a proponent and I don't do anything that's not with and involved and driven by community. So starting with a framework, starting with an idea and the notion and hearing what communities said they needed and wanted, and then we as technical assistants come in and then put that piece together and come up with this plan and this vision, and then community comes in and say, okay, here's where we tweak it, don't like that, here's where we go. I think I appreciate that about what this team can do, and that's coordinating all of our experiences to come up with something that community would want.
And Felicia, I would kind of double down on that and just say, we have diversity of thought, diversity in experience, and diversity in design expertise. And Bill was kind of alluding to this earlier, but we're responding well beyond the immediate site and context and providing, a comprehensive 3-phase development approach to the Chicago Ave corridor, surrounding infill strategies for vacant lots, all anchored within these 2 bookend development sites that can really serve as a catalytic force to spur investment and development across the community.
Okay. So we have time for, there are 2 questions yet that can be answered live. And certainly we will ask the Avenue to respond to the other questions that we don't get to. So the question from James Nelson is, what is the actual minority ownership? Is POA a minority company? It seems as though they have a large stake.
No, this is a majority minority owned. Majority minority means majority Black ownership. POA is a nonprofit.
Okay. And then from Mercedes Pickett, are there strategies in place to ensure that the apartments remain affordable after the initial decade? And the comment regarding community members are afraid of being displaced. So how does this investment develop the residents in and around the Avenue?
So Felicia will head up the management process for the duration of the compliance period, so she can handle that question. Felicia, am I helping out?
So as we talk about POA, and Julie, my partner in crime, can also chime in here, but what we do is our whole focus is, that's why our name is preservation of affordable housing. That's what we do, preserve long-term, and we're long-term stakeholders in the community. And if one of the strategies that we've heard and we've embedded as a part of our process as we manage the properties in the neighborhoods that we work in is we start very early, even before the foundations go in the ground, and engaging community around what is the process to get a unit. When you're doing a LIHTC deal, when you're renting a unit and trying to get into that initial unit lease up, it's like buying a house. And every year you have to re-qualify your and recertify your income. So it's a process. So starting early in the neighborhood with community to let folks know this is what we're doing, this is what the process is, helping them get prepared to put in the applications, getting them in the queue for what that means. We start early on in that process so that when you see, typically what you see is when apartments go up, people from all over come in. But this allows us within fair housing rules to really tap into the folks that live in the neighborhood to be able to get into those units. So it is, you know, your sisters, cousins, nephews looking for a place, and we're all a part of the community. They know ahead of time, you know ahead of time. So that network on the ground again allows people to get in the door early on. And the way we work as preservation of affordable housing, our goal is to secure affordability for long term. We don't do it if it's not long-term affordability.
Okay. Meaning multiple decades, typically 30 years and beyond.
Yes.
Thank you, Julie. We want to say thank you to the Avenue Developer Group. Our time is up for Q&A. We would ask that the Avenue team would begin answering the questions in the Q&A that start with Cornelia Haley Gamble. So if you would respond to those, and also want to acknowledge that in the chat, Chantel Johnson was asking Keith Muhammad to respond to speak more about the Holman Avenue, Chicago Avenue Family Dollar Building Project. We can't get to that question either. So Keith, if you would like to respond in the chat for the group. And so we want to say thank you to the Avenue for your presentation. And I'm going to turn the program over now back to Ernest to wrap up and close out. And thank you to the roundtable members as well as the community for your detail and attention to what's important in community to both groups, from the Ascent group and the Avenue group. As you move forward. Ernest?
Hi, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make, this is Chantel. I was just letting you know that I was just forwarding over Keith's question. He was writing me directly. He meant to write everyone. So that's why I put that's Keith's question to you.
Oh, okay, thanks. So in the chat is Keith's question of, can you say more about the Chicago Avenue, Holman Avenue dollar store project? So if you'll respond to that, to the Avenue team in the chat as well. Thanks. Thank you for the clarification. Ernest?
Right. Thank you so much, Claudette. Thank you for facilitating an amazing Q&A session between both teams. I really appreciate it. Welcome back, everyone. To close things out, next steps with regards to what will happen post this meeting is next week, we will be sending out an email to all those who registered for tonight's meeting, providing links to the developer presentations. Additionally, those were dumped in the chat earlier. But we will provide them via email as well. And we will be creating a developer, the developer Q&A questions that were answered here tonight, as well as those in the chat. We will provide a comparative matrix that synthesizes all those comments and questions. Furthermore, we will provide a link to the community scorecard for you to score the two proposals. That'll be kind of open for around 2 weeks. So please do fill out those community scorecards when they come via email. Secondarily, once all the input has been reviewed, a winning team will be selected and announced towards the end of October. Lastly, after the team is selected, DPD will refer to feedback from these sessions and future public meetings to advance negotiations and amend the proposal. So with that, that's the conclusion of our community presentations this evening. Thank you all so much for joining us and being part of this process. Those who've been part of it from the beginning, and those who are kind of new to the process now, really appreciate that you all came out tonight. The robust questioning that you gave both teams here, and I'll look forward to you all answering those community scorecards when they come into your email box over the course of the next week. So thank you all, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you all.